You know the quickest way to know that you're slopping through an area, especially if you got somebody in the boat with you, it's in the back of the boat. If somebody in the back of the boat is catching a lot of fish and you're fishing, you know, obvious targets and shoreline type cover, you're leaving too many fish, you know, behind them. You're slopping through that area. Now, sometimes, you know, if you're fun fishing, you automatically try to leave some cover for the guy behind the boat. But just as an experimental talking point here, if you're really trying, you know, if you don't care anything about the dude catching fish in the back of the boat, you should focus on him not catching anything. And I'm not saying to do that, but I'm saying that is what I'm saying in terms of not leaving any stone unturned. Okay, so what does this entail? What does it involve? First of all, when you're breaking down cover and you're working along a stretch, this stretch, it can be a offshore ledge, it can be a hump, it can be a point, it can be a rowboat docks, it could be a grass bed, it could be lay down trees, it could be a riprap bank, it could be anything with that. The first thing that you have to do is you have to develop your pace for the day. Now, when you talk about bass fishing, you're not talking about terms of fishing fast or slow or at a medium speed. You're talking about finding the ideal pace to fish at, and that means how many casts you make, the angle of cast you make, how fast you're running your trolling motor. Every single application has a different pace you need to fish at, and that depends on your lure category, and that depends on the type of cover that you're fishing. For example, if you're fishing a big open water flat out on Lake St. Clair and you figured out they're biting a Zaraspook or burning a spinnerbait, you can turn that dial up on your trolling motor and you can cover water and you can just move fast through there, trying to cover as much water as you can. But if you're picking apart and you're flipping a worm into lily pads, you're working like a snail because you're trying to hit all the little openings and you're fishing extremely slow and methodically. So in a situation like that, you have to dial it back and fish extremely slow. And every single lure category and every single type of cover has the right speed and the right pace to fish at. So you're not talking about fishing in terms of fast or slow. It's getting maximum efficiency for the water that you're fishing. Okay, now another thing with that is you have got to not leave any stone unturned. In other words, let's say, for example, you're fishing boat docks and you're on Lake Gunnersville and you're fishing docks. Now, the docks on Lake Gunnersville are piling type docks, and every dock that you fish may have, I don't know, 20, 30 pilings on it, depending on how big the dock is. So if you go to that dock and you slop through that dock and you only hit 2 or 3 pilings,